This week, we're going to get into some abstract art styles to bring your Midjourney artwork to the next level. All right, let's get into it. All right, our first art style is alcohol ink-based art, or alcohol ink art. And what this is alcohol-based ink is used on non-porous surfaces to create these abstract-looking, basically randomized images and art. It can be dripped on, it can be moved around with like a hairdryer, things like that, dripped, splattered, all this. All right, let's take a look at it. Here is a woman. Where's my clicker? Here's a woman in the style of alcohol ink art. Fantastic. You know what? Obviously, you wouldn't get something that accurate through this, so this is creating a new technique. It's a new look, because I don't believe you would get something so accurate from an alcohol ink process. But look at that. I mean, I guess if you were painting first and then dripping, you could do something like that. But anyway, this is a woman. You're going to get these. So the reason they use alcohol ink is you get very vibrant colors, and that's what we're going to take a look here. And it's going to be, it gives you that abstract feel. Here's a man. Very cool. But I think the alcohol took one of his fingers. He lost a finger. I've been getting that a lot lately. Midjourney has... I've been having issues with hands again. I had a good run, and of course now you could throw that with the regional vary and probably fix it up. But I thought this was a very cool looking piece. Great texture in the background, but also a very loose watercolory feel on his face and body. Obviously the silhouette is pretty precise, but that's pretty cool. It's like the most interesting man in the room with 3 fingers. A burger, look at that. Now, there's a lot of energy and excitement in that one, and it's almost got a glossy feel to it. Very cool, right where we're definitely using the splatter feel of the alcohol ink. An octopus, this one is really cool because the octopus kind of like, much like watercolor, but it uses that depth, that atmospheric perspective of water, and you can see these back tentacles just kind of blending into the background, and I think that really gives a cool effect. Excellent use of complementary colors too, with the teals and blues to the oranges, and how it almost spotlights in the center where the face is, where we want to have our focus, and then kind of blends out towards the edges. Love the eye on that octopus. He's just like, I'm not having it. And a house. Look at that. That's very cool. I love these cellular patterns around it. Again, gives that vibe of the craftsman style artworks, and I think that's beautiful. And I like that I'm starting to get some new architectural houses with these different styles and stuff. A tree. I mean, that's cool. That's it represents, you have the tree, and that's really cool, but then this ink effect up top with this just vibrant color spectrum. It's beautiful, but it also looks cloud-like. It's not just foliage-like, and you kind of have these drips at the bottom that could be falling. It's a lot of depth and dimension in there. I really like this one. Motorcycle. I mean, this is really using the medium as a energetic art form, and that's just pretty cool. And I love the posture of the rider. He's just like sitting down in there. That's a solid dude. I really like this one, so much, especially now that we're getting to the end of summer and starting to get into fall, and you start to see like some early trees like start changing their foliage. Like, that's what I really see here. And then these white specks all over, kind of gives it a feel. Is it an early snowfall? I don't know. We haven't even hit Labor Day yet. Can we start talking? I love snow. So my favorite season is the one where the mosquitoes are dead. All right. That is alcohol ink art. All right. Our next one is biomorphism, and this emerged in the early 20th century. It's characterized by the use of organic, curvilinear line shapes and lines and forms. And it should be reminiscent of living organisms, biological processes, natural elements. This style often blurs the boundary of abstract and a natural world. So let's take a look at this. This is a woman in the style of biomorphism. We definitely see these, almost a stained glass effect in the back here. Very polygonal. So we're getting these curves, but they're also linear. Interesting mix of it. Not exactly what I would expect, but definitely something. But look at this beautiful line in the composition that comes up, around, and back down. Almost a golden rule line. Of course, it's in the wrong placement, but very interesting how Midjourney comes up with these compositions. Here's a man. Look at that. That is so cool. So, you're thinking organism, you're thinking curvilinear, and it's just kind of morphing out of his face. It's so interesting how this, and you can see in his hair, like he's got this curly hair, and then it just kind of goes into this substance, this almost natural formation flow of plastic and stuff. Very interesting. The cheeseburger. Now look at this. So we're getting our natural organism type influence on our cheeseburger. And you have these plastic things that are reminiscent of some type of insect or spider-like, maybe ant-like. I don't know, but it's also transparent and almost plasticky. So we see that morph between mechanical and organic. And the octopus. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, we definitely see the patterning up here. It's a very flat look to it, so it's not exactly what I expected. But we do see these organic or cellular type of design in the back, and curvilinear and patterning. And we are completely symmetrical on that too. Very interesting. I like it almost completely. Obviously the detailing in here is not a symmetrical house. Look at that. I would say that just nailed it. You see a lot of renders like this too that are these kind of blobby, organic shaped architecture, and I've seen it for a long time. And what's really interesting is how it uses the wood accents in here. This is exactly how you would see it. It's a great interpretation. What I also like is this lighting, the use of lighting underneath to define these curves is very interesting. But I don't know if I could live in a place like that. I mean, it's interesting because inside it's very angular. Well, not very angular. It is angular. There are angular things here, but then you get this weird staircase or chair. But then all these vertical lines. Very interesting how that complements the very loose, gooey exterior of the house. I don't know if that tree is doing the right thing there. Speaking of trees, here's a tree. Interesting. Almost like a pointillist in a way. This background, you get this gradient from light to dark. These pelagonal, I say pelagonal because they're not all cubes. They're, but they all have dimension to them. They're all rendered with dimension, and then you have the tree over it. Very interesting effect. And remember, we're using this on very simple prompts. So as you explore these, you're putting them into more complex prompts, you're going to get excellent, like even more complicated returns on your investment here. Now, look, this one, I mean, the color of it makes, I have this sense of bones. Like it's like a very bone-like color with the gold. I mean, and the gold is modifying it, but very cool, very smooth, very organic. Very flowy. I mean, that would be a beautiful bike. And I'm not sure that engine would ever work, but I mean, what a cool design. All right, the forest. Look at that. So I did a couple renderings of forests, and I kept getting mushrooms. So mushrooms must be, I guess, with biomorphism. That's a really interesting, fungus and stuff. is just a very interesting organism to replicate. And I like how you get this beautiful underlighting and everything. And I mean, what a cool fantasy world. Very moody and foggy, and I'm going to say atmospheric perspective again. Really makes these drawings pop. So that's biomorphism. Put that in your prompt and smoke it. All right, our next art style is Vorticism. And this was a very short-lived abstract movement in the early 20th century, coming out of England. And it was very much interested in machine aesthetics and dynamic energy and geometric abstraction, much like the Cubists, except Cubists were, painting multiple viewpoints into a single flat image. Vorticism was more breaking things down to basic geometric shapes. So let's take a look at it. So this is an interest. Now remember, we're pumping an organic subject into using a style of Vorticism. So I did keep this one, even though it's, a Vorticism style artwork would typically be more angular. But I found this to be such a fascinating, sci-fi type looking thing. And I think we're getting the influence of the intricacy of the interest of machine aesthetics. And I think that's where this comes from. So this is a woman. Here's a man. So this is more traditional. This is what I would think, and we have these very angular geometric shapes that are really felt out. And yeah, I find great interest in here where it's sometimes you have these dark silhouettes, and then sometimes it's using these negative space. I keep saying Jesus. It's using Midjourney's using negative space to give this feeling of a geometric cutout. I love these different types of clouds morph together, and obviously the color palette, the blue with the orange, it's not giving a good vibe of the time, but that's kind of the commentary. And this ran from 1914 to the end of World War I, and it's coming from England, so you know what they were going through during this time. This is a man, and excellent. Here is a cheeseburger with the stiffest tomatoes I've ever seen on a cheeseburger. Anyway, we have the angular shapes of the mountains here, which break up the curvature of the ground and the curvature that is echoed up in the clouds. But again, you are finding angles in here, and it's almost like this battle between the two. And again, we're throwing subject matter that isn't akin to what they would have been using. Obviously, the cheeseburger, I don't think people were having. That's a triple cheeseburger too. That's a very modern thing. The octopus. So look at this. This is intertwined with these angular webbing shapes, like almost bone-like. It's creepy, and these very distinct circle patterns. It's rendered in this statuesque type element. I guess we're more familiar with that as being more of a 3D art nowadays, but this would have been sculptural back in the day. And I find this bone webbing that's between the octopus's tentacles and underneath them just so creepy. It's I don't know why I don't like that. And the house, here we go. That's, angular, very angular, although it is complemented with some cylindrical circle objects, but very cool, very, it reminds me of a playground you would see at McDonald's back in the day. And the angles are complementing the curves, but you can also see the interest in the industrial influence. I love this part right here where you have this squared off, it would typically be a tower, but it's inverted and bent out, and it's almost, you can almost get the sense of this being a representation of factory type things where you kind of get pulled into one end and shot out the other, or shot out here, and there's lots of ins and outs to this architecture, and very unique from what I've gotten. For, I typically get a lot of storybook renderings for houses, and I kind of thought it would go in that direction, but when I got this, very interesting, and I think it hit that one just perfectly. Now, a tree, look at that. The tree. Another thing is that Vorticism it has a dynamic energy to it, and they wanted to convey speed and vitality of the modern age. So sometimes when you get these curves and things, that's what it's representing. And this has angles to it, but it's also curvy and thorny. But again, we're throwing one of the most organic shapes at a angular abstract art form, and that's where Midjourney gets interesting, because it's combining these two elements that I wouldn't say haven't been mixed before, but are now being mixed by AI. Motorcycle. See, now you can see the influence of cubism, but we're getting it from one viewpoint. So we're getting that simplified shapes, simplified geometric shapes. Beautiful, very cool. And I love that there's still a distinct, even though it's the similar color palette from foreground and background, we're still getting a distinct silhouette on this motorcycle. I love this one. The way the lighting is represented in this very abstract, I just love that. It's, the light is catching these different planar surfaces, and it's dropping through. The color palette's cool. The lighting representation is cool. I really like this. I don't know what I would use this for, but it's something I just like looking at. I like it. That's it. That is a forest in Vorticism. All right. Thank you for joining me this week and looking at some abstract art styles. Some really beautiful stuff out there. If you could do me a favor and like this video, that would be great. Subscribe to the channel. That's always huge. We're growing leaps and bounds here. Comment if you like it, if you don't like it, if you hate me, if you love me. I don't care. Just throw some comments up. And if you really want to continue the conversation, head over to Discord. I'll put the link in the description. Join us over there. Some really cool things, some great artists that are just pumping out some really cool stuff. And, we're talking about all sorts of things. Everything from weird Vermont and all the way down to very precise techniques in AI. And I do end up sharing kind of previews of my videos over there, so you kind of get an insider look to what I'm coming up with. Anyway, thank you very much, and can't wait to see you next time.